Your translator is lying, a waitress warns a Millionaire CEO before a German deal. The moment that changed everything began with a whisper. Sir, your translator is lying to you. Those words were spoken softly by a young waitress who almost nobody noticed. Yet they landed like thunder in the ears of Millionaire CEO Daniel Carter. Daniel looked up slowly from the contract papers on the table. The luxurious restaurant in Frankfurt was buzzing with quiet conversations, clinking glasses, and the subtle tension of a business meeting worth nearly $50 million. Across from him sat 3 German investors, waiting calmly. Beside Daniel sat his trusted translator, Victor Klein, a man who had worked with him for over 2 years. Daniel didn't understand German well enough to negotiate the deal himself, so Victor was the bridge between 2 powerful companies. But now, a waitress had just told him that bridge was built on lies. Daniel studied the girl standing beside the table. She looked nervous, almost scared that she had spoken. She couldn't have been older than 22. Her name tag read Anna. Daniel leaned back in his chair and gave a small polite smile to the investors. Excuse me for a moment, he said calmly. Victor translated something quickly to the Germans. They nodded politely. Daniel stood up and followed the waitress toward the quiet hallway near the kitchen. When they were alone, he looked at her carefully. Explain, he said. Anna swallowed nervously. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to interfere. But I'm German, and I understand everything being said at your table. Daniel's eyes narrowed. And, she hesitated. Your translator, he is not telling you the truth. A cold silence filled the hallway. Daniel crossed his arms. What exactly is he lying about? Anna spoke carefully. The investors offered you a 40% partnership. Daniel blinked. That's exactly what Victor translated. Anna shook her head slowly. No, sir. They actually offered you 60%. Daniel felt a sudden chill run down his spine. That's impossible. Anna shook her head again. He told them that you demanded 70%, and that you are willing to walk away if they refuse. Daniel's heart started beating faster. He suddenly remembered the confused expressions on the German investors' faces earlier during the conversation. He thought it was just cultural misunderstanding. But now, it all made sense. Anna continued quietly. He is making both sides believe the other is greedy. If the deal collapses, he will receive a large compensation payment from another company competing for this contract. Daniel stared at her in shock. Why would you tell me this? Anna gave a small, tired smile. Because my father lost his company 10 years ago to a dishonest middleman like that. Her voice softened. I promised myself that if I ever saw something like that again, I wouldn't stay silent. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Thank you. He walked back toward the table slowly. Inside the restaurant, Victor was speaking confidently to the German investors, smiling as if everything was going perfectly. When Daniel returned, Victor immediately leaned toward him. They are willing to consider lowering their expectations, Victor whispered. Daniel pulled his chair back and sat down. But instead of speaking through Victor, he did something unexpected. He looked directly at the German investors and spoke slowly. My German is not perfect, he said carefully, but I believe honesty is more important than grammar. The table went silent. The investors looked surprised. Daniel continued. I believe there has been confusion in translation. One of the investors leaned forward. Yes, we also felt something was strange. Daniel nodded. Let us speak directly. For the next 15 minutes, the conversation was slower but clearer. They used simple words. They confirmed every number, every percentage, every responsibility. And slowly, the truth came out. The investors had indeed offered Daniel 60% ownership. They believed Daniel had insulted them by demanding 70%. Both sides turned toward Victor. His confident smile had disappeared. Sweat was forming on his forehead. Daniel stood up calmly. Mr. Klein, your services are no longer required. The restaurant was silent. The German investors exchanged looks. One of them finally laughed softly. It seems, he said, your waitress saved a very expensive mistake. An hour later, the deal was signed. Not for 40%, not even 60%, but 65%, after both sides decided that honesty deserved a better partnership. As Daniel prepared to leave the restaurant, he asked the manager to call the waitress who had helped him. Anna approached nervously again. Daniel handed her a small envelope. "I believe honesty should be rewarded." Inside was a check for $50,000. Anna's eyes widened. I can't accept this." Daniel smiled. "You didn't just help me today." He paused. "You helped prove something very important." "What?" she asked softly. Daniel looked around the restaurant. "In business, people believe power comes from money." He shook his head. But today, power came from the courage of a waitress who refused to stay silent. Anna's eyes filled with tears. Daniel extended his hand. "And if you ever want a better job than this one, my company could use someone with your integrity." Months later, Anna became part of Daniel Carter's international negotiation team. Not because she spoke perfect business language, but because she understood something far more valuable: truth. And Daniel often repeated the same lesson to his executives. The biggest deals in life are not saved by money. They are saved by people brave enough to tell the truth.